Welcome back to the House of Legends. And today's episode, we have a legendary woman, and I was sharing with her before I press record that I was watching her content, and I have to share it here because let's be honest, ladies, sometimes we do that, right? We don't follow, we don't press that button of follow, but we check this amazing woman. And I was one of them. I was checking your content since 2020. And I was sharing with Danielle, which is our guest, that my first encounter with her it was back in 2020, but in 2019 when I attended a seminar in Los Angeles with Bob Proctor mentioned her name, and I was like, who is she? So, and I started looking online, and like I said before, I was seeing her content, and I was like, who's this woman? It was just like those women that is like, it's like, it's easy for
Mm.
her, but it's not for me. And she was sharing content, and one of them that we want to talk about, and one of the posts, and I still remember, she said, I wrote her and I became great. It was like, it was intriguing for me because like how she did that, despite of knowing the information, right? But I never sent a DM. I never said how you did that. So, but coming back, Danielle, she's an amazing. And I think there's so many titles. I can say mind coach, mom, mentor, guide. But I think Danielle, she's a powerful creator because she has created her life in the way that it's just like a dream, I will say. All right, Danielle, if you can introduce yourself, let us know who you are and what got you here.
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you for that introduction. And I remember the seminar that you're talking about very well. And gosh, I was saying to you how much I miss those days with Bob Proctor.
Mm.
Um, Magical, incredible soul. And I just got goosebumps. So knowing that he's here with us today and I had the privilege of working very closely with him for many years. He was my mentor, and I worked my way up through his company through this work that I'm about to share with you. And when I actually said that, so I was being interviewed on stage at a consultant training, and Bob had me teach about self-image, which will
Mhm.
be the topic we get into today.
Yeah.
And one of his coaches said to me, Danielle, what did you do? What exactly? And I said, I wrote her and I became her.
Ah.
And Bob would reflect that back to me all the time. He's like, you just put it so simply, and that's what we do. But here's the thing, many of us think it's too easy or it can't be that easy. And I'll get into my story in a moment. I really want to impress upon your audience here that if I can, you can. And the things that I'm about to share about my life and what I've created, it's not to impress you at all. It's to impress upon you that if I can, you can. Because I didn't come from a family with money. My parents were teens. My mom was 15 when she was pregnant with me. I was always told that money, wealth, that life that I dreamed of as a little girl wasn't for me, and that I just needed to like be okay with it.
Mm.
And my parents divorced when I was 13. My father worked 4 jobs to keep food on the table for us. And I saw that I accepted a paradigm that many of us have in society, that you had to work really hard to be successful. And so as a little girl, I got my first job at 9.
Yeah.
I started working, I got a paper route. And by the time I was 12, I had saved up enough money to go to the UK. My grandparents helped, of course, but I did that. And from there, I didn't stop working. By the time I went to university, I also had 4 jobs, just
Yeah.
like my dad. And I had this little voice inside that I think a lot of the listeners, and probably you as well, can relate, that I knew I was meant for more. Like I just, I never had a worry. My parents would try to tell me to save my pennies, and I spent them all. Have always loved nice things. And I would say to my dad, I don't need to save because one day I'm going to be a millionaire and I will then invest my money and I'll, take care of all of us. And my dad would roll his eyes and say, save something. And and I never did. I never listened. Um, Fast forward,
Yeah.
I continued on that with that paradigm, work, 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 and I got into, was a good girl, got my corporate job, went to university, the first the first person in our family to go to university, and went to school and got my corporate job, which I loved. On the outside, my life was awesome, but I really knew I was meant for more. I had this voice. I really wanted to be an entrepreneur. So I jumped into network marketing, assuming that I'd go right to the top in that industry. And I didn't. I fell flat on my face. No one was joining my team. My friends unfriended me. My family ghosted me. It was really a challenging time. And I thought that it just was that I needed to make more calls, that I just needed to phone more people and put more time into it. So I did. I quit my job, my high paying corporate job. I quit it and I dove into network marketing and nothing changed.
Mm.
Maybe a little bit better, but not a whole lot. And I started thinking something was wrong with me. I started getting really depressed. My bank account was going down and my debt was increasing. I found myself in over $100,000 in debt. My relationship was on the rocks. I was fighting constantly with my husband about money. He was blaming me for putting our family in this situation. We were on the brinks of losing our condo. We also owned a home. Like we had no idea what to do. And I remember crying on my kitchen floor, praying, like literally praying for an answer. And my mother ended up dragging me to a seminar. Like I didn't want to go. She told me that the gentleman there was going to talk about this book, Think and Grow Rich. And I said, Mom, I've read that. Like I've done all the things. And maybe just like many of your listeners, like I had read all the books. I had been taking courses in self-help and nothing much was changing. And it was frustrating.
Yeah.
On stage at that seminar was Bob Proctor. And he said one thing. He said, your results never lie.
Um.
And it was like a gut punch. And I knew he was talking to me. And he said, you've got to change for your life to change. And I was at the back, like wanting to scream, saying, no, it's because my husband doesn't support me. My family, like if they would just buy these products, join my team, I'd be fine. Well, fast forward, I've learned that he was absolutely right,
Mm.
that I needed to change my concept of me. We'll get into this in a minute, but fast forward, I joined his program, borrowed 3 credit cards for the deposit. Everyone thought I was crazy. My husband told me that I was putting our family at risk through this investment. And I bet on myself and I did it anyway.
Yeah.
And fast forward, and I tripled my income in 6 months, started winning awards with my company. And gosh, the rest is history. Like I went on to create now a multi-million-dollar company with helping people understand this, and mainly women, to write her and become her, to live their best life. And I haven't done it alone. I've been well supported, but I had to do the thinking by myself. I had to do the transformation on the inside by myself. And for everyone listening, you're going to need to do the same thing.
Yeah, this is so powerful. And you mentioned one word as well that, well, some of the listeners, they're already familiar with this, a paradigm.
Yeah.
That sometimes we don't even know that we have those habits, that we have ideas that are not even us, or ideas that we just borrow or grasp from our childhood, from our teens. And then those are actually running the show. And you share this example as well, that when we make our transition to another field, to another career, you name it, the first thing and I did that as well. So I was doing Amazon FBA back in 2020. So anywho, that didn't work because I didn't change back then. But I was
Yeah.
thinking it was like just like buy the supplies and do the logo and things like that. But who I was the same woman. I was the same dental assistant. By the way, I used to be a dental assistant. I was the same dental assistant doing the thinking and trying to get the results as the Amazon APA supplier, whatever. So
Yeah.
I think if you can go a little bit back on the paradigms and how you mentioned as well that after that seminar you start just to become aware of actually is me. It's not the company, it's not my husband, it's not that people don't support me. Actually, it's me. How you
Yeah.
how you start changing that paradigm and that idea of I have to work hard, because once we become aware of that, sometimes the paradigms are really deep because we've been listening to the same thing. We've been, like you mentioned, your father having 4 jobs, my dad as well had, well, 2 jobs, but it's the same kind of situation that we see money in one way. How you make that shift?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's important, first of all, to understand
Yeah.
that you do have a paradigm, like you said. So your paradigm is simply your mental programming.
Yeah.
And every human has been programmed between the ages of 0 and 8 by their parents, society, teachers, caregivers, the news, media. And so we all have a paradigm. No one's paradigm is the same, although we'll see a lot of similarities. You know,
Yeah.
most of the population was programmed to live in lack rather
Mm,
than abundance. Only a small percentage of the population grew up with a prosperous mindset, very small. And so we'll see similarities. The first step, though, is to understand you have this programming, and it's going to show up through your habits, your habitual way of thinking, feeling, and actions. So just like when you wake up in the morning, you'll start automatically doing certain things. That's all your paradigm running the show. It's like I wake up, I, brush my teeth, get my coffee, blah, 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 right? It's all automatic. So same thing for you as a human, the way that you view money. And like I said, I was programmed to believe in order to earn money, you have to work hard.
yeah.
I didn't believe necessarily that it was the result of school, but a lot of people have that, although I did go to school. Um, but I believe that it was all about how hard you were willing to work and how much you were willing to sacrifice. The
Mm,
reality is money is not the result of hard work. In fact, in Think and Grow Rich, he says if you think money comes as a result of hard work, perish the thought. It's not true.
yeah.
It's not true. Actually, the harder you work, I believe the less will come because of your energy around force, and force negates. And it's not an abundant mindset. It's like, so, I mean, that's a whole other conversation. And I love talking about money, but the first step is to understand that you have this paradigm, you have been programmed, and then to understand, to take responsibility. So this was a huge mindset shift for me.
Yeah.
I had to no longer be
Yeah.
a victim to my circumstance, a victim to my husband. Like I was a freaking good victim. I can tell you, like I had every reason and excuse and as to why I was not successful in my business. And not one of them was me,
Mm,
like not one. And that's when Bob punched me in the gut that day when he stood on stage. I was like, holy crap, he's
that-
right. There's a quote. I just want to read this. This comes from Power of Awareness,
I love that book.
chapter. Yeah, Neville Goddard. I mean, mine's well loved. He says, woman's chief delusion is her conviction that there are causes other than her own state of consciousness. All
Mm,
that befalls a woman, all that is done by her, all that comes from her happens as a result of her state of consciousness.
yeah.
There is nothing outside of you.
Yeah. This is so deep. This is so deep. And I think this is, well, this is a conversation that many will really appreciate, because sometimes, like you mentioned before, um, we think that is something external, but if it is showing up, it's because we call it, because we are the magnet. I love to use just that simple analogy. If something is showing up, even with my kids, I am the match for that behavior. I am the match for that bank account. I am the match for those clients. I am the match for that. What is going on inside? And this is the deep work, because when you said I must take responsibility if I want to change, is when there's no one to blame. No one.
Yeah.
That is painful. I'm telling you, in the sense that you discover that all the time was you. Fuck. Yeah.
It's like
Shit.
a lose your breath moment.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, all this time it's been me.
Because, I mean,
Yep. Yeah. And it's not a problem
it is. It is
because
not.
all the experience that you've had, right, have been for you. They continue to be for you. I love how you said, like, what's in my bank account, I'm a match for. What my kids' response, I'm a match for. So if you don't like what's currently in your physical world, the good news is all there is now. You can't change what time you got out of bed this morning. You can't change what's in your bank account, like as of this morning. And what you can change is who you are being today, who you are right now in this moment, because this moment's actually creating the next moment. The way that you respond here, right now is creating the next moment, the tomorrow. And so, yeah, you may be a match. You may have been a match for what's in your bank account.
Yeah.
And with one decision that changes
Yeah.
and your bank account.
And I would love to mention it as well. And this is part of, ladies, after you listen to this podcast, if you want to check Danielle's work, because she's really amazing. You also, well, both, but we get to teach about universal laws, because sometimes we don't even know that actually we are vibrating, we are attracting. We think like a law of attraction, blah blah blah, things like that. I don't even know about all those laws. I don't want to know about those laws. Or really, like, it's like, oh, blah blah blah, that doesn't exist. But it doesn't matter if we start denying that, or we don't even understand them. They're still acting every single day. And you mentioned an amazing point. The only time that we have is right now, and you can change, you can close that gap energetically. You can, right now. You don't have to have the proof, because if we want, and this is another thing as well, if we wait until the numbers change in the bank account, if we want, let's say we want to release weight, we want to see the fit body first before we go to the gym, it's impossible. It's vice versa. But we've been training in that way. You have to have the resources, you have to know the how, you have to have the results, and then you can be. And it's totally opposite.
That's so true. Like, you're so right. We have been programmed, and so many of us as humans have bought into that paradigm that it is have, do, be. So
Yeah.
in order for me to feel prosperous, I have to have money in my bank account, whether that's $100, 1,000, 10 million. I need that in
To feel.
order to then donate to my charity and then feel prosperous or abundant. It's backwards. We have it backwards.
Yeah.
It's not true. Be, do, have. And that's where the quote, I wrote her and became her, it is founded in this new paradigm that many of us are waking up to. And I'm sure lots of your listeners have heard this before, that it's the beingness is where it starts. But it takes something, because you're walking against the grain. You're going against what most people in society. Well, how can I possibly feel abundant when I'm debt $100,000? That's impossible. Is
Yeah.
it? It's not, because
Yeah.
I've done it.
Yeah. And I think that paradigm is sometimes is really profound in some families. And I will say mine was not an exception. When they were seeing me to act in this business back then in 2019, they were like, you don't have these things. How this, you're gonna go to school, you have to do this, you have to do this. Like, they require me, or they thought that you have to do first in order to be, in order to have the title, in order to do those things. And I think, like you mentioned before, when we start becoming aware of like, no, actually I can close the gap right now. Actually,
Mm.
I'm not coming from a place of feeling being faking until you make it. I think that it doesn't work at all. And people can say that, but I think you can be that person now, close the gap emotionally, I will say, feeling yourself, like Neville Garden says, feeling that. And yeah, it will be echoes or crumbles from the past. Maybe your bank account, or maybe you receive a bill after you wrote that woman, the new woman is like, there's no working, or maybe you receive a new client and it's a shitty client or whatever. It's maybe it's coming like an echo, like a crumble from the past, but you're right there. You have actually the opportunity to reaffirm your new identity. But sometimes and I was one of them. I was confusing those crumbles, those echoes. I was like, this is not working. Who I'm fooling me,
Mm.
right? And I would love to know how, after you wrote your new self-image, your new self-concept, identity, which are the same, how you were able to walk without being affected from the past decisions. Because like I said before, those echoes come, those crumbles come, there's duality, it will come. How you were able to move with knowing and trusting that you were moving in the right direction.
Yeah, what a great question. First of all, it comes from an understanding. So knowing, like you said, and having good mentorship who reminds you that when you do find or notice crumbles, like you said, from the past, come into your awareness,
Yeah.
you perceive them as just that. It's like, oh, interesting that I've attracted this. This must mean that there is still
So
some like vibration, of the way I used to see the world and myself in the poverty mindset. And this is just like telling me to clean up my energy a little bit. And it's no big deal. It's like, thank you. Um, for showing me how I'm currently vibrating. I also, when it was more than crumbles, let's say like big bold
big chunks.
in the very beginning, yeah. Um, I really had to, and I don't have them here, but I often have at my desk ear muffs
Yeah.
and blinders, because I show this to my clients all the time. I put big earmuffs on and put blinders on, because we've got, in the beginning especially, it's important that you deny the evidence of the senses. So your physical senses will show you, yes, you have eyes, you can see what's in your bank account, you're not a millionaire. So when you're affirming that you are, it's like, liar, liar, liar. And for the first little while, you're going to need to deny the evidence that you're not what you say you are in the making of becoming. And that takes something, and especially the way that you speak to others, the way that you speak to yourself about the current situation. I'll give you an example. When I was manifesting my dream chalet, so I really wanted a cottage. It's not a cottage, it's like a gorgeous chalet, but I was manifesting this in 2020. And at the time I was coaching with Bob one-on-one, and my grandmother knew that I was looking for a new home to buy, and it was February, and I didn't close on this home until November. So it was almost a year where I was searching for the perfect place. I had the image in my mind. I was going to see homes, and every day, I kid you not, I would get a text from my grandmother saying, Danielle, I saw on Facebook you're celebrating like your new place. And I'm like, yeah. She's like, where is it? I'm like, oh, grandma, it's on the water. And it's beautiful. I can't wait to have you there at Christmas. And I would describe the whole thing to her. And she's like, okay, send me the address. I'm like, grandma, it's on the water. And so I was really mindful, because I had the home in the vibrational realm, because I could see it in my mind, but I didn't yet have it in the physical realm. In fact, I hadn't even seen a home that resembled the picture yet. And all the homes that I went to go visit were not what I wanted. So yet, but I knew that it was just part of the process. So I had to find a way to describe my current circumstances without lying.
Got it. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I have to highlight some points that you're just like, wow, this is mind blowing. It when you mention about like this beautiful place and describing it, you mentioned one word, and I know many will something will move in their mind. You said I did have to have that first of all and enjoying this place vibrationally.
Yeah.
You can do this even for money. Like you can, when I was back then in 2020, I started doing like a game. Comes from Abraham Hicks. Like I was on my phone, I was like, instead of putting my gold card, I was putting a $100 bill here, and I was spending that. Like, oh, I could buy that. I could buy that. I could energetically. And sometimes like that is silly. That is not working. That is whatever. And I was accustomed myself to money, to abundance, and it's the same thing for this. But we as a humans, and I want the things not even by tomorrow, I want it by yesterday. We want the house now, we want the boyfriend now, we want the body now. But that was brilliant, that this point that you mentioned, Danielle, of enjoying that vibrationally, having that clear mental picture and going to that place.
And acting as if it was already there. What would I be doing? I'd be inviting my grandmother to Christmas. I'd be telling her about how beautiful it was. And I was doing it in present tense. It's
Mm,
amazing, Grandma. You're going to love it. It has big windows. We can see the water, a fireplace. It's so amazing. It's in the forest. And I did find the place. It took something. So in September, I found it and closed in November. And you're right. I had to go there and enjoy it first in my mind and become the woman who had a chalet. So who was a match for the chalet. So in February, I wasn't her yet. I was still in the becoming.
mm,
So you'll know when you are the match for that thing, that person, the money, when it shows up physically. And the time in between cannot be rushed because that, well, one, force negates. Number two is that it's just the growing. So there was some growing that I needed to do to become her.
yeah.
And that takes time.
I would love if you can highlight a little bit more here when you said about the gestation period of the time that is we live here in the 3D, so there's time.
Yeah.
When we have, let's say, we want to manifest a house or more money, sometimes there, and I witnessed, I was part of that manifestation, whatever. We can do things to becoming a match for that. But here's the thing, when there's no, when we don't, when we force, when we do 20,000 things, we can have the result. But the thing that I experienced is that the results go back. You lose it. Because you're not a match to sustain that energy. So how we can, and you mentioned this, how about understanding the process, but how during the process, how you were able to sustain the faith, because sometimes, like you said, the what we are experiencing right now is sometimes is even the opposite of the things that we want.
Yeah. Well, faith is not blind faith. And I learned this from Bob Proctor is faith comes through understanding. So studying, mentorship. I know I collapsed time by having a really good mentor, by having a really good support system. And I believe that's where faith comes from because you then study and you understand
Mm,
how the universe works. You understand the universal laws, and in a way that you can apply them to your life so that you then have a knowing, because it's not just that you read a book. We know that reading books don't work because most people aren't applying the knowledge in the book. You need the support to have the knowledge applied. And so then once you start applying the principles of universal laws and success, you live in harmony with these ideas, your life becomes easier and more abundant. That's a promise. And then you now have evidence, which then backs the faith. So for me, it's like, okay, I started applying these, my life started changing. So I just knew it was a matter of time before me getting what I wanted, because I understood the law of transmutation of energy. It's not if I'm going to have the house, it was just a matter of when. And here's the thing, I made the decision that I was going to be persistent. Like, it was okay if I was going to get the keys in June, November, or the following June. I knew that I'd have them, and I trust the time and let go and really let God surrender to
Yeah.
that process. And then be willing. This is my part though, and it's each of our parts. Then be willing to lean in to the lessons, to the obstacles, to the problems, because excuse me, it's not the it's not when things are going well that we learn and transform on the inside. If things are all la 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 and you're comfortable, it's probably going to take longer for you to get that house. I will say it will take longer, because if you're just comfortable, you're staying the same.
Yeah.
And so the house that you want is probably 5 years away, not 5 months. So
Hmm.
lean into everything and be willing to be uncomfortable and look for the problems, because in the problems are the opportunities for growth. And that growth is what your soul is seeking when it gave you the desire for the house in the first place. And that then it comes back to self-image, because it's who you are becoming that your soul is yearning.
Yeah, that is so profound. And when we have those lessons, like you said, those are the ones that are crafting the person that is able to sustain anything. Because if in the top or what with that house, with that multi-million-dollar company, if something happens, nothing can shake you because
Yeah.
you've been walking the path. And thanks God that those things happened before during that path, that you were able to integrate, that you were able to move accordingly and understanding about yourself. What are the triggers? What are the things that move you? What are the emotions that you need to work? And when you do that work, when you in quote unquote arrive, because we never arrive, we're always growing. If we achieve something, if you're like me, I want to achieve something. If I achieve something, I am just enjoying it, but I want to more. I want more, right? But we can never go back. We can never lose that thing. Yes, things will change, like a little bit fluctuations right here, and even with the weight. Let's put the weight as well. You can release a ton of weight, put yourself in shape. But if you now have the habits, the nutrition said, there's no force. You became that woman during the process. You can gain 5 pounds and it's not a big deal for you. You know, and you use this word. No, you don't hope, you don't believe, you know that it's all good, that you can come back
Yeah.
to release those 5 pounds. So that is
Yeah.
so powerful.
Yeah, you got it. And as you were saying that, what came to mind is that the change, like you said, the change is actually a guarantee. Everything changes. So anything that you quote unquote like lose in your life, I really believe that it's making room for something bigger and better, and
Yeah,
that life just gets like, change is so that life can be better.
yeah.
I know it doesn't always appear that way, but life is forever better, always forever getting better.
Yeah, and sometimes,
Bob wrote this in a book to me. He wrote, keep going. What did it say? Keep going. The best is yet to come.
oh, that is so beautiful. And when we live from that philosophy, I will say, because that's totally philosophy, when it's it's we keep this excitement and we keep this growth, not because the thing that we're gonna get is actually, I want to meet that woman that is making this. I want to meet the version of myself from 5 years from now. Who is she? And you get more curious, and you don't get like emotionally involved on when, how. I want the proof that it's gonna work out, because you already know, right? So,
Yeah.
and I will say, it sounds cliche, but we get to enjoy the ride. And
Yeah, completely.
yeah, I love an analogy that Abraham Hicks says, that Esther, which is the one that is doing the translation, or the for Abraham, Esther and Jerry, they were in a, it was like a mm, road trip or something like that, and she was like, "Oh, this is gonna take time, right, between cities," and he said, "Well, what if just as we stayed, because we're gonna arrive to the same place. I thought that you wanted the ride, you wanted the adventure." And it's the thing, it's like, that is it. We came here because of the adventure, because of our souls lessons and our soul's evolution. Yeah, it's an eternal thing.
Yeah, that I love that. So Jerry said, well, why don't we just stay? Because we're going to come back to the same place anyway. It's like, why bother going to Mexico on vacation? Because you're just coming back to your homes. Why
So,
not go? So it's
yeah,
the journey we're going. Yeah, that's so good. It's the
yeah.
experience.
So yeah, it's the
What a
experience.
great reminder.
Might as well. It's like, and when we see it that way, it's like, no, I really want to go. It doesn't matter if it's gonna take time, whatever. And here's the thing, and when we put that resistance, it's gonna take time. It's like pressing the gas and then the brake, gas brake, gas brake. And it's like, how, that's why we feel like, "Oh, I don't feel like it." Well, because it's like a push and pull in your energy. That is all the only thing. It's not about the thing actually itself, about the trip or the boyfriend or the money of the situation. It's about you. You want it, but you don't want it. You want it, you don't want it. So, but like,
So good.
going back to this, and you mentioned this a few times during our podcast interview, is key to have someone, a mentor, coach, guide, teacher, you name it, that can provide you this information, because this material, we have it on Google. And this is one of the things that I always say to my clients: you can go to Google, YouTube, whatever, you can have books, and that is amazing. But when you don't have a like a structure, in order, I think they call it order. I don't remember the phrase that Bob Proctor used to use, but he said, if you don't have something in order, it's gonna take you time, and you don't have the accountability. And the accountability is not just because she's gonna guide you, she's gonna give you the information. It's actually because she already arrived at least to one place that you want to achieve.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point. The when you are looking for mentorship or a coach or a guide, it's important that that person has the results in that area that you're looking for mentorship in, so that they know more. They've got to be a bit ahead of you. And that's important. Um, because they've done it. They can show you the way, and they're not in your paradigm. So they don't have the same programming as you. So one of the benefits is that they'll see you for your goal achieved self.
Mm.
Once you know what it is you want, like my job as a mentor, I just got off a call with someone actually, and we were both in tears because I could see her. Like I know where she's going, not with like a shadow of a doubt. And when a person or a client shares their goal with me, I only see them as that goal achieved self. And there's something that happens energetically. It's like that vision of them pulls them towards that. And my expectation of them to be that person now actually helps them be it. And so then anytime that they're acting outside of that goal achieved self, I can keep them accountable to their promise of who they're becoming. And that's the value of mentorship. And then to help you understand these universal laws and these success principles, because we weren't taught them in school, and how to use your mind to create the reality you actually want, not the one that you were programmed to create. A mentor can show you or just help correct you if you aren't applying the laws or understanding them to the highest possible way that you can understand them. So that mentorship's key, because if not, like out there in the masses, the blind are leading the blind. And that's why 97% of people aren't winning. They're doing all the same thing. And it's not that they're necessarily doing the wrong thing. They're not being, their understanding of who and what they are is mistaken. And so they're getting results that they don't want.
Yeah, that is so, so profound. And like, and thank you so much for extending this because this is crucial. Like, and one of the things that I highlighting even more that when you hire a mentor, coach, guide, teacher, you name it, that he or she has the results in that specific area. Because sometimes we want, she has to have it all. No, I mean, when I couple of years, I hired a personal trainer. She was an ex-Olympia. She has a job. She is not an entrepreneur. I didn't saw that. I didn't saw the relationships, but I knew that, oh, she's an ex-Olympia. She know her shit. And excuse my language here. Like, and I wanted to put myself in shape and I wanted to compete back then. I'm gonna hire her. And in less than taking me months or years, it took me a couple months to get ready and all that thing. But in that area, I knew that she was a pro. So just
Totally.
she doesn't have to have like all together, all the beautiful hair or whatever. If she dominates that area that you want to dominate,
Totally.
go. And the
Totally.
accountability is priceless because sometimes we're humans. We're also living in a human experience. Um, there could be days, there could be, you have kids as well, your daughter. There could be situations with our loved ones. What happens when we don't have the motivation, quote unquote, when head shit the fan?
Yeah.
When you have someone, they like you said, and I love the part that when you said, I see my client achieving her goal. I don't see her where she is. I see her in her highest expression. And when you have someone that is giving you that energy, it's just priceless.
Yeah. It really is. One of the questions I often get from people then is they say, okay, well, does that mean that I can't coach because I don't have, like, I feel like a fraud. I don't have results and money and I can't coach. And I'm like, well, you don't coach money
Yeah.
or you coach where you are. So if you are earning 5,000 a month or 2,000 a month, is someone that wants to earn that. But don't make it that you can coach someone to become a millionaire because that's not true. You are not that yet. And so people have a hard time with that, right? But that's been part of the problem with the industry is people are coaching beyond what they've currently been able to achieve themselves. And that means that they haven't mastered it. They don't understand it. They're not a vibrational match for it, or else it would be the results in their life. But here's the thing, with every single person listening to this call, they've achieved something. It doesn't matter. I don't care if you are on, I don't know, getting government assistance. There is still someone that looks up to you. And so you can help that person or mentor that in that area and just be authentic about it. That's all. And then if, like, let's say you earn 2,000 a month like I was and you have a desire to coach people around money, well, you find someone, you find the system, you hire someone and follow those steps and become a product of the product, become your best client, get the results, and then help people. And then you've got to pay attention. Are the people you're helping getting results? Because if not, you're not teaching them in a way that they're getting results. So you got to take responsibility for that. So my results, like, I love millions that I've created $1 million company. Amazing, amazing. But my measuring stick is that I've mentored, they've
Mhm.
created it. I've mentored over 24 other women to become millionaires as well. And there are many more coming up the pipelines right now. And some of those women have far exceeded my own success, which is what a good mentor
What I was meant,
does.
yeah. And yeah, you touch this point, and I think this is just amazing because sometimes we, like you said, we want to teach in something that we're not fully yet, or we know that we're walking the path towards that. But and I think this is more than energetically, because if you know that you're walking the path to receiving 100K months, 50K months, whatever the amount, and you're now in 10 or 20 or 15 or whatever, if you feel certain and if you have someone that is actually teaching you and you're doing your work, there's no double banding message. But when you know that I haven't yet achieved the 50 or 100K because right now you only have 30K months, 20K months, that right there is when you feel like fraud. That right there is when, and it's not only another on or other thing that you're double banding message. I can help you, but I know I cannot help you. But if you
Yeah.
CERN, if you have the help, like you said, if you have the help, you're doing 30K, 20K, and you're going for the 50 or 100, if you're CERN and you feel so confident and you start seeing results in your own thing, you can teach them. But if you
Totally. And my point is there's always someone right where you are. So you don't have to say, come learn from me for 100K. There's someone that wants to learn how to do 10K, which
don't,
you've
yeah.
mastered. So go do that, be that person. And so just allow yourself to continuously be a product of the product, walk the walk, and
Mm,
really like, it's good. You've got to be a full embodiment of the work. And when you do, oh my gosh, your clients will get it because they'll like calibrate to your energy. They will be like learning right there with you. They'll be able to apply it just like through your way of being, and their results go through the roof. And for me, there's nothing better than celebrating when someone 10x's their income and beyond. I
yeah.
get to go next month. I'm going to New York with one of my first clients, not my first client that became a million, but and she's well surpassed me. So her and are sharing a stage at one of our colleagues' events. And for me, that's so cool. It's like going to be a full circle moment. In 2020, she came into my world earning 2,000 a month, and she's just celebrated 32 million in her company.
I think I know her, Kathleen. But
Yeah,
one of
Cameron.
the things as well here, and this speaks so well about you that you said, you know what a good mentor, and really owning it, because really, if sometimes when there's no like competence, there's no like a jealousy, it's like actually she's doing more. But one of the things I always go back to remind myself to be grounded and to be in my own game is like, I don't know what her soul came here to play. I'm not behind. She's not. Oh, she's not this. She's not that.
Totally.
I don't know her game. We are came, and this could be another conversation. But as a souls, we came here with different games.
Yeah.
Let's say my partner, my kids, my husband. I'm not gonna say, oh, my client is doing more than me, or I'm gonna feel something inside of me just behind the scenes. Actually, no, because I don't know her game. I don't know her soul journey. Maybe she's finished her journey. Maybe I don't know. And when we live from that
Yeah.
place, like, oh,
And here's the thing, like I'd be lying if I didn't get support on being triggered by it. Bob and I had lots of conversations
yeah.
about the success and the surpassing, like a lot. So I wouldn't be lying. I would be lying if I said that it wasn't triggering in the beginning. Of course it was.
But yeah, but
And yeah, and like actually there's so much to be proud of, and it's an example of what's possible.
yeah,
And the truth is, each one of us can be, do, and have anything that we desire. So the fact that yet my company's not at 32 million, I'm not a match for that. I haven't desired that yet. I haven't become a match yet.
not
And
yet.
yeah. And there's no race. My soul's been over here, healing in different ways, manifesting in different ways, and same thing. So it becomes really tricky when we compare, and you started the call with this actually, when we compare ourselves to
Yeah.
other people on the internet, other women. If you truly wanted what she has, it's for you. You're going to need to grow in the woman that attracts that. And are you willing and ready right now to do that? And you got
Yeah.
to be honest with yourself.
Or
And that's
some,
it.
yeah, or sometimes I do have this pastor, Joel Austin, he says, or if what you see in other is it's a possibility for you, but also if you have in this real whole moment, all the manifestation that she is experiencing, is what maybe for your calling, for your purpose that you came here in this lifetime, is going to be something that is going to destroy you. It's going to be something that is not even your soul's desire. And it's
Yeah.
like, we think in that way. When we go more deep, it's like actually amazing for her. But right now, I'm going to go really deep within myself. And what's next for my soul? What is my soul calling? And I know this requires a deep emotional intelligence and a deep work when it comes to all areas, because when we are able to master this, and when we are able to bring amazing women to our world, and we see them like they're doing even more things than ourselves, but we don't feel that like, oh, less than or more than whatever, is when we understand that every single one of us, we're creators. And
Yeah. I
yeah,
would also say I would change the word more in that, like, change our perception and say, you know what, we're equal power and we are manifesting different.
Mhm.
So not one is more or less.
Yeah,
It's different,
different.
to your point, according to our soul, our soul's purpose, mission, all of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. And like I said, I love to think about like my soul is coming here with games. And also it's coming with a little bit of resistance. Maybe for me, it was overcoming fear or being more open or you name it. So, and when I think in that way, it's just between me and me.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. No
Yeah.
competition.
No.
Doesn't exist.
Yes. All right, Danielle, this was an amazing podcast. I would love, before we wrap up our podcast, if you can share with our audience where we can find you. And I'm going to put the details either above, we love this video, but also what is the first, let's say someone is like, "Ah, I would love to know more about Danielle." What is the first step? Sending you a DM via Instagram? What is the first step?
Well, Instagram's great and it's me on there. So you could send me a DM. My Instagram is at the Danielle Amos. And I'd be happy to have a conversation. If you listen to this and it really resonated or you have a question, please send me a DM, or even, you could put a story and tag me. I always do a monthly draw with everyone that tags me and things. So I'd love to, repost, get to know you, and cheer you on, as we need to be doing that, as women, cheering each other on more. So I love that. Thank you.
Yes. And the last question here to wrap up our podcast. What is your superpower, Danielle? And by this time I already know, but you can just share with us.
Mm. My superpower is seeing others in their fullest potential by me being my highest self so that you can see yourself.
Mm. I would love to add more, and if there are
Thank you.
amazing. If not, I think you are, and I use the word legends. Other people use the word icons or queens. I think you are a legend creator. That's it. You have to add to the titles right there. I
Thank
think
you.
truly are. The way that you shop, the way that you explain, it's just so peaceful, so grounded, and it's just amazing. I have to say it here.
Thank you. Well, Graciela, thank you for hosting this podcast. Thank you for bringing so many people to the stage to show their superpower and to really expose the truth of who they are. Thank you for being that woman in the world. I see you. Lots of love to you. Incredible. And to all the listeners, you're here. You've attracted this. You've attracted this podcast and Graciela to your life for a reason. So stick around, because the best is yet to come. Forever
Yes,
better.
yes, forever better. Thank you so much, Danielle, and thank you so much for all of you ladies, and we'll see you in the next.